Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and another update on the Land Rover. I've been doing quite a lot of work on this recently, so I've been up in the tail end of my holidays. I was up here 2 or 3 days, then up here last weekend, and I'm up again on this weekend just to finish off the work that I started with regards to the replacement of the cylinder head gasket. So I won't go over that in any more detail. You know where I've got up to. And essentially, having put it back together in the last video, or last weekend I should say as well, I ran it up to temperature and I timed the car, or I timed the engine obviously, and it is running so sweetly. It's never run as well as I got it running last weekend. You know, the way it started, the way it ran, it was just really, really nice. So I'm really pleased with that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to retorque all of the cylinder head bolts, and because one of you mentioned that I should do that when I've not after I've done 100 miles or so, but after the first time that I've run it up to temperature, and then also again after I've done some driving. So I was rather hoping to get out and do some driving today, but it's raining, so I don't really fancy it. I'm not overly precious about the car, but it's nicer to drive in good weather, obviously. So that's what I'm going to do first of all. I'm going to retighten the cylinder head bolts. So I'm going to uncover the car. I'm going to lift up the bonnet again, because obviously it's much easier to work on the engine when the bonnet's completely up. And then I will show you what I mean. So this is what I mean. In the Haynes manual, it's got a section of the rocker shaft here. And it says, and it shows essentially that, if you imagine this one, and I'm guessing this is the front, well, it's obviously the front of the engine because the valves are on the right-hand side, let's say. It's showing on the second one along the locating pin, which would be that one there. But mine is the second one in from the back. And what it says here under G is, it says locating screw for rocker shaft, 2 off on early models. So that's fine. So on early models, let's consider this is a late model. There's only one of them, which would sort of stand to reason, but it begs the question whether the rocker shaft itself is the wrong way round. So if there is only one, then, should it be turned round and it be there? And if it's not, does it matter? I guess that's my question. I mean, the long and short of it is, as long as the oil ducts or passages line up, because obviously you can see here, there are pinholes here coinciding, I'm guessing, with the pinholes here, so that the oil pumps through the shaft and out through those holes and up through here, so everything's lubricated, then it should be no problem. So what I'm going to do to test that is obviously, I don't know, I might be able to sort of somehow line up these arms here and poke a bit of wire through to see if it actually goes down into the shaft. That would obviously mean they're lining up, but the chances of getting that aligned is on the crank handle is very remote. So I think I'll just run it with the rocker cover off to make sure oil's going around. You can obviously see oil is getting everywhere, or most places, because there's a lot of oil on the tops of the valves. So. But as I say, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check the torque settings, and then I'm going to respace all of the tappets, or at least check all of the tappet clearances to make sure that they're okay. Because do you remember when I started it last weekend, it was clattering quite loudly. And one other thing that I just did, I took the vernier gauge. It's quite crudely done, to be honest, but I took a measurement from the outside post to that locating pin, and it's exactly the same both ends. So I'm guessing that is, if I if I swapped that, you know, if I took that rocker shaft out and turned it around, then that locating hole would line up with that. So maybe it doesn't even matter if it's in this one or in this one. Okay, so I've got the sacred page in the Haynes manual, which is, if you've got the same one as me, it's page 20, which gives you the tightening sequence of the cylinder head bolts. I mean, actually, really what I should do is either carry this book with me in the car, which is probably the most sensible thing, with my toolkit and stuff underneath the passenger seat, or, you know, make a print off of this and stick it, laminate it and put it under there, because, you know, it's things like tire pressures and things like that. It's quite useful to have close by. So 89 Newton meters for the head bolts, and I'm going to go around now to see how far off that was, or how far off they are. Starting with bolt number 1. So just to give you the size for this, because this is imperial, I use an imperial socket set on this, and we are at, what is that? 3/4 of an inch, those bolts are. Right, so number 1 is that one right there. No, they're still good. Still bang on. That's good. 1, 2, I should know this off by heart by now. 3 is down there. That's good. 4 is that one. Yep. Ooh, goodness me. 4 was way off. Crikey. 4, 5. Where are you? 5 down there. Yep, 5 took a bit of a turn as well. God, that's quite surprising actually. 6. 6 is back there. Bingo. Goodness me, that's surprising. They are moving. 6, 7. Is that 7? No, that's 17. That's 7 right there. That's fine. It did turn a little bit though. 8 is here. No, that was fine, that one. And 9 is back there. Let's see if that goes. Oh. Actually, I think I over tightened that. Let's do it again. Okay. 9 and 10 is right there. 10 is fine. 11 is down there. 10 turned a bit too. Sorry, that was 11. So 11 turned quite a bit. And 12, a bit tricky with this water pipe, but no. 12 is good. 13 correct. 13 turn 2, 14 over here. Is that right? Yeah. So 14 is turning 2. 14, oops. 15 right at the back there. No, 15 is good. That's good too. 17. That's good. And 18. Okay. So it felt like to me that the ones on the outside of the to either end of the cylinder head, they seemed to be fine, but the ones in the middle mainly, quite a few of them at least, took a little bit more torque to turn up, so they'd obviously come loose. Good, so I'm quite pleased with that. Now I'm going to check these ones here, which should be still on my smaller torque wrench at 24 Newton meters. So let's grab the extension for those. I think luckily, not that one, a metric fitting of 13, I think. Yeah, 13 fits nicely on that. And so's that. Okay, so they're good. Okay, now what I'm going to do is check the tappet clearances. That's quite interesting. I just started to set the first valve, so I'm using the 9 rule. So out of the 8, if 8's fully down, 8 plus 1 is 9. So whichever one's fully down, the difference that makes up to 9 is the one that you adjust. And I've got 8 fully down, and 1 is adjustable. And look at that. Bearing in mind, I didn't do that long ago. Look at this. I can probably, you can get a London bus through there. So the clearance on that tappet is more than double the specification. So that might have something to do with the fact that it is clattering like a train. So that was, yeah, interesting, quite surprising really, because it wasn't in terms of mileage that long ago that I actually set these tappets. It was probably about a year ago, to be honest. And yeah, that is a long time ago if you're using the car every day or even on the weekends, but I just haven't been using it much at all. It's done really very little mileage since I last set the tappets. And I'm quite surprised, quite shocked actually, how far off they were. There was only one setting which was correct, and I think it was six or 7, I can't remember, but every other one was way over the tolerance of 10 thousandths of an inch. Most of them were 20, so that will most definitely have an effect on how the engine runs and how loud it is. So I am now going to leave the rocker cover off, put the spark plugs back in, and I'm going to start it up to make sure, A, that oil is flowing, but also to check the difference in terms of noise. But just before I do that, I wanted to have a look at these spark plugs, because I gave them a quick clean up before I put them in and then timed the engine, and obviously they're quite coked up. So I'm going to clean the spark plugs up again and then put them back in. So I've given them a bit of a clean up, kept them all in order, and I'm also going to check the gap as well, and looking that up online from a reliable source, it's 30 thousandths of an inch, so in decimal points that's 0.030. So I'm going to check that now, and one of them I noticed was slightly, yeah, not quite centered. I think that one, you know, that could go over a little bit, the conductor. What do you think? Maybe that one as well. Maybe I'm being a bit finicky, but that one looks perfect. But let's check the clearance. Right, so I've just brought those down to the correct gap, and they were pretty much all off, really. So they're all spot on now. I'm just going to give them a light, very, very light clean up with emery paper, and then put them in. So one last thing that I did was I just adjusted the, I don't know what this is called, this part here, just to be totally central on the plug, because a couple of them it was sort of off to the left or off to the right. So they are, I think, well adjusted now. Right, spark plugs installed. Just going to go through and put the HT leads back on now. Doesn't feel that tight, that one. That's better. 1, 2, how long's that? Same length, that's why. Okay, 2. That's it. 2, 3. And 4. So make sure that's back. Okay. They are all on. That is attached. That's attached. I guess the only thing I'm not going to get with the rocker cover off is choke. Well, that should still pull. Yeah, oh, maybe I can just do it there. Oh, there you go, I'll just hook it onto there. I'm just going to hook it onto there and that should work. Of course, the only thing I'm not going to have is the air filter on, but I'm just going to leave that because I think that'll be fine. So let's start the car. Let's get the keys wherever they are and then see how that starts. First of all, keys are in the door. Right, that's up. Anything else going to fall off? That'll be fine. That's fine. Have I forgotten anything? Crank handle is out. Very important. That's all fine. That's all fine. Get that hair off of there because that will obviously make a massive difference. And fine. Right, let's start the car. I'm guessing that's that choke isn't pulling. Is it pulling open at all? No. I just put it like that, maybe that'll do it. Is oil going everywhere? Ooh! Oh, well, at least it's having the desired effect because you can see the oil coming up through the thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Brilliant. Right, let's still try and get it going though. I'm going to try without any choke. Okay, didn't need any choke. Doesn't sound that good, does it? Okay, what do you guys think about that? Is that enough oil coming up through there? Doesn't seem like much to me. It's not going onto the top of the valves, but maybe it just builds up and starts flowing down. certainly coming through. I tell you what, it's sounding a lot better than it did. It was so tappety before, but now, let me get that off there, that's rattling. Oops. I'm just gonna, it needs to warm up really. I know you're supposed to not feed the engine with oil, but I'd be a bit happier with that. I mean, it's starting to flow, but tell me whether you think that's normal or not. All right, so I've just set the timing as well, one last time, and it was slightly off. So on tick over, it's now perfect. And I'm gonna put the rocker cover back on and put it all back together. Okay, so I am now done, and I'm just going to start it again, just to, you know, just to let you hear it again. I think that's running really smoothly. I'm really pleased with that. And I've just realised I've forgotten to put the cowl back on. So I'm going to have to do that now. Okay, so that actually took a lot longer than I'd expected. It's no surprise whatsoever that these cowls are generally missing on these Land Rovers because it's so fiddly to get it back in. I ended up having to take the battery out and things like that. You think, oh my goodness. But it's finally back in it's all back together, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I've got the timing done. I've retorqued the cylinder head bolts. Done a whole bunch of stuff, and of course replaced the head gasket as well, which is the really important thing. I had it running in here earlier, which you saw, and it's running really nice and sweetly, a lot quieter now because obviously those tolerances on the tappets are to spec, whereas they were really off beforehand, which really surprised me actually. But now we are pretty much there. So had the weather been any better, I don't know if you can see that, I would have taken it out for a drive, but it's raining pretty hard out there, so I'm going to leave it. But as soon as the weather's better, I'm going to take it out for a nice drive. I'll bring you guys along with me, and after the drive, I will then retorque again the cylinder head bolts, just to make absolutely doubly sure, because I think that might have contributed to the issue with the blown gasket. But anyway, I'm really pleased to have it done. I'm going to head home now, clean up and head home. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't found me on Instagram yet, go and check me out over on Instagram, because I've got an account over there. It's my 911 projects. I think it's all lowercase, but I update things on the Porsche and also on the Land Rover a bit earlier than they're done and uploaded to YouTube. But sort of without giving anything away, obviously, because I want to keep everybody up to date on YouTube. So thanks very much for your support. Really look forward to your comments, and I will see you on the next update. See you later.